Welcome back to the Metro on WDET, Detroit Public Radio. I'm Robin Vincent. Last weekend, the Trump administration reduced tariffs on Chinese imports from 145 to 30%. James Hohman, an economist at the Mackinac Center for Public Policy, thinks tariffs are a bad idea because they make both trade partners worse off. Yesterday, producer Sam Corey spoke with Hohman. He asked him if there are any instances when tariffs can be useful.
Why wouldn't tariffs be beneficial for us?
Trade deficits result from mutually beneficial exchange. That is, if one party felt like the other party was taking advantage of them, they would stop the trade. So trade deficits are instances of people in the United States finding value in the things that are made and the services provided in other countries, and for other countries finding value in things made in America and services provided by Americans.
What do you make of the argument that tariffs can be useful if we want to develop industry here? That is, if we're investing a lot of money in a particular sector and we don't want competition to beat us out from elsewhere, that we should use a tariff to help us do that.
Protectionist policies have proven to be ineffective time and time again. We've protected domestic shipbuilders in Michigan from foreign competition by restricting the market for transporting goods from domestic port to domestic made ships. And the United States does not have a competitive shipbuilding industry. The only way to ensure a mature, thriving, and growing industry is by staying on the competitive edge, and protections pull you away from the competitive edge.
And so is this your concern with Canada and Michigan right now, that we're going to alienate a really important trade partner and we're going to make industry worse off here? Prices are going to go up. Is this pretty much what you're finding?
Canada is obviously Michigan's number one trading partner. It's the biggest source for both exports and imports for the state of Michigan. We have an intertwined, and this is available in a report that Patrick Anderson wrote. We have an intertwined supply chain through Canada of parts going back and forth across the border, sometimes even multiple times as value gets added along the supply chain. This was not something that anyone dictated. This is just the result of automakers and their suppliers trying to find the most efficient way to deliver their products to their customers. Tariffs are just going to get in the way of that process, and they're going to make the domestic auto industry less competitive.
Are you then overall pleased? Like, the news of the day was that Trump brought down tariffs from a really, really high percentage on China to a much lower percentage. Is that good news to you?
The tariff policies for the deals that have been announced are worse off than when Trump announced his global tariff policies. So while they often make steps in the right direction, it's still leaving us all worse off from where we were before the president started implementing his tariff agenda.
The best thing to do, in other words, would be to bring the tariffs down to zero.
Again, I think to the extent that there are some foreign policy objectives that can be advanced through tariff policies, I think there may be some justification for them. But outside of that, tariffs simply get in the way of mutually beneficial exchange that makes our country better off.
I guess, is there anything else on tariffs, on the recent tariffs that have come up, that you think is important that I didn't ask you about?
Yes. One of the reasons that tariffs have been justified is the idea that other nations have hollowed out American manufacturing. And this is simply not true. America manufactures more than it ever has before. And now productivity has increased, but even if you look at the number of manufacturing jobs that we have in the United States, that's been increasing for the past 14 years. America is competing and winning on the global stage in manufactured products as well as in services. And so the retaliatory tariffs that are going on, in addition to the tariffs on supplies that we need to help manufacture products more, is going to hurt American manufacturing far more than the tariffs are going to help.
Is it true that the manufacturing jobs, though, they're just workers themselves are being paid less because they rely more on technological developments? A lot of the technology has changed to improve manufacturing, and that has lowered the wage of the manufacturer.
That's an empirical question that economists have looked at. And by increasing productivity, you're also increasing the wages for the workers that remain. It's just that you require fewer workers to make more goods and more valuable goods. And so that has put downward pressure on manufacturing employment. And as you look, manufacturing employment is a smaller share of the total employment. But a smaller share of the total employment doesn't mean that we're losing manufacturing jobs. Again, we've been increasing them over the past 14 years. I would have to relook at the wage numbers in general, but I'm pretty sure manufacturing wages are going up and have been going up.
So just then,
But so if wages in general.
so then the question is, when people talk about manufacturing jobs going away, what are they talking about?
They're looking at, the auto factories that have closed, the furniture factories in some states that have gone away, and some of the industries that just no longer exist in the United States, but they're not seeing the growth in other places. For every Gary, Indiana, they're not looking at the boom towns that are in Salt Lake City or Boise or the other industries that we've picked up. Trade is an uneven policy, and not every place in the United States is growing as much as Boise is. But I think when you look at the growth of the United States in general, the problems that exist domestically are not national problems. They're localized to particular places, and you usually find problems at the local level that have kept those places from thriving like the rest of America. And I doubt that you'll find global trade is the culprit that have caused these places to stagnate.
Can you give me an example of that?
Yes, there was a discussion recently about factory towns in North Carolina that have died because of the loss of furniture manufacturing in the area. But what they're not seeing is all of the growth that has gone on in North Carolina. North Carolina has been a booming state. I think its cities have been growing at substantial rates. And I suspect that a lot of the people who may have lost their jobs found employment elsewhere. One of the things you'll notice if you look at the data is that we often treat the employees at these firms that close as unemployable elsewhere. But if you look at manufacturing employment, they turn over 1 out of 17 jobs every year, which means that 1 out of 17 people find a better opportunity in another company. We have a remarkably dynamic economy where workers are in demand. And so this idea that we're shutting down factories is, at least over the past 14 years, again, manufacturing has been growing. But even if global trade was going to threaten workers have options these days that they might not have had in the past.
But that's really 1 out of 17. I mean, that's really only a little over 5% of people who are getting those jobs. I mean, is the issue then that we need to do a much better job of retraining and of offering people access to higher education so we can ensure that they get a new job, so they increase their wages? Like, what's your answer to 16 of 17 people who don't get a new job?
Oh, well, so that's every year. And that's only a little bit less than the national average in general. And what I'm saying is, like, those are 1 out of 17 people who work in a factory today, not what happens when the factory is closed. And my point is that industrial workers have options already. We do have a thriving job market, and that our current factory workers find better opportunities without requiring further education, further retraining, or anything like that. But the question of whether we should be doing more retraining, we already do a lot of it. There's mixed results for it, but certainly if people can find a better opportunity by getting further certifications, governments are already involved and offer a lot of opportunities to try and help them find alternatives.
That was producer Sam Corey speaking with James Hohman, Director of Fiscal Policy of the Mackinac Center for Public Policy, a free market think tank in Michigan. Tomorrow on the show, Detroit's biggest electronic music festival is around the corner, and that means a lot of folks will be indulging. We'll find out how to party safe so you can party for another day. Plus, The story of public housing is a story of segregation, of families building community in the margins, and of power shaping neighborhoods. We'll learn more tomorrow on The Metro. I'm Robin Vincent. Thanks for listening.
Metro is hosted by Robin Vincent and Tia Graham. The show is produced by Sam Corey, Kerry Jr. II, and Jack Philbrand. Our senior producer is David Lyons. Our engineer is Nate Bender. Music and creative audio production by Sam Bobian. The Metro is a production of WDET, a listener-supported service of Wayne State University. This is 1019 WDET-FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation.